The White House is in full panic mode after the disastrous and frankly embarrassing press conference between Donald Trump and the Ukrainian president who is under siege from a power who invaded his country. I know this because shortly after the meeting, all of Trump's cabinet members, this is just a few, basically did a copy and paste of the same statement congratulating and celebrating Donald Trump. Thank you, POTUS, for standing up for America. Transportation or the Treasury Secretary, thank you, President Trump, for standing up for American people. Sean Duffy, thank you, POTUS, for standing up for the United States. And then someone else here, I'm so proud of our Commander-in-Chief. Thank you for standing up for America. You got it? So they are in full panic mode. And Tom Nichols described it like this. Friday, February 28th, 2025 will go into the history books as one of the grimmest days in American diplomacy. The beginning of a long-term disaster that every American, every U.S. ally, and anyone who cares about the future of democracy will have to endure. With the White House's betrayal of Ukraine capping a month of authoritarian chaos in America, Putin, along with other dictators around the world, can finally look at Trump with confidence and think, one of us. Jennifer Jacobs, who is a CBS reporter, had this detail about what happened directly after that awful press conference. It's a little long, bear with me, but I do think it's important to know exactly what is going on. High-level Trump sources tell me the White House is now uncertain if they can get the Russians and Ukrainians to stop fighting because this episode with Zelenskyy raised questions about whether he can move forward toward a peace deal. It also raises questions about whether the U.S. will pause aid to Ukraine. But Trump is not seeking regime change in Ukraine. No discussions about who in Ukraine might be a better leader than Zelenskyy. Let's stay tuned on that because I think that's probably the next shoe to drop. Ukrainian officials have reached out this afternoon to senior White House officials desperate to get the deal back on track, but they will not happen today, I'm told. Trump is unwilling to talk to Zelenskyy further today. When Rubio and Waltz went into the Roosevelt room where Zelenskyy was to leave, Rubio made it clear that any further engagements today would be counterproductive. Waltz told Zelenskyy he made a tremendous mistake, and it was a grave disservice to Ukraine and to Americans both. Bullshit. This was a setup. Donald Trump knew this is what he wanted to do. He wanted to create a scene, and that's what he got. He got a reality TV show. No phone calls between Trump and Putin have been scheduled. Let's stay tuned on that. But multiple European officials have called Trump to try to salvage the mineral deal. Trump fully intended to sign the mineral deal today. Two official binders were prepared. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and his Ukrainian counterpart and the two other presidents were going to sit at a conference table in the East Room and then trumpet their success at podiums. But there were suspicions before Zelenskyy arrived today that it might fall apart because the Trump administration had been pushing for weeks for a minerals deal signing at the ministerial level, and Ukraine had refused. Zelenskyy wanted security guarantees. Of course they wanted security guarantees. You know they gave up their nukes? They gave up their nukes in exchange for American protection, and this is how we're honoring that deal. U.S. officials thought negotiations would be much harder with Putin, so today has been, and they have been in disbelief today. That has been Zelenskyy, who is more difficult, making maximalist demands, sources told her. The fact of the matter is, Trump and Vance were parroting Russian talking points. I don't blame Zelenskyy for defending his country from people who are trying to attack it. That is Russia, and by proxy, the Trump administration, when they parrot Russian talking points. Liz Cheney had this to say. Generations of Americans from our revolution onward have fought for the principles Zelenskyy is risking his life to defend, but today Donald Trump and J.D. Vance attacked Zelenskyy and pressured him to surrender the freedom of his people to the KGB war criminal who invaded Ukraine. History will remember this day when an American president and vice president abandoned all we stand for. That is exactly what happened. Donald Trump Jr. made this really stupid meme. And then someone said, today I'm thinking of this ancient sacred text, and it said, you see J.D. Vance's tweets and you fully understand why his mom traded him for some Percocets. That's funny. When asked if the peace talks will continue, here's what Donald Trump said.
What does Zelenskyy need to do to restart talks with you?
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay? I can tell you.
I mean, I don't know. I personally believe that if Ukraine wants to keep fighting, they should keep fighting. It is the cheapest way we can destroy Russia is by having a proxy country engage in a war of it, drain it of all of its resources, and frankly, much of its fighting force. North Korea had to get involved because so many Russians were dying, and Ukraine and by proxy Europe and America were being successful. So it is the smallest investment we can make with the largest possible outcome, which is defending a democracy and also attacking and destroying a dictatorship. But apparently, that is not what Donald Trump wants to do. The EU foreign policy chief put it bluntly, saying the free world needs a new leader. Yeah. John Bolton was on MSNBC saying that Rubio and Waltz should resign. Question for everyone in the comments. Do you think Rubio and anyone in the Trump administration is going to resign?
Yeah, this is really one of the most disgraceful performances that I've seen, and I think it's important to understand that, in particular, Trump and Vance own this personally. This is the kind of attack on a country that's defending itself from an unprovoked aggression, and they just unleashed on Zelenskyy in public. And whether they planned it or not, I don't know. I'm not that concerned with questions of etiquette. I am concerned that the president, vice president of the United States have sided with the aggressor, with, as Mike Waltz was just saying there, somebody who's trying to recreate the Russian Empire, something.
Well, is anyone shocked that this sexual abuser is siding with the predator and not the person who's been afflicted? Not really a shock to me. H.R. McMaster, who worked in the Trump administration, said this: it is impossible to understand why President Trump and Vice President Vance seem determined to put more pressure on President Zelenskyy while they seem to be coddling Putin, the person who inflicted this terrible war in Ukraine. Do people not get it? It makes perfect sense to me. I mean, it's disturbing and it's frankly appalling, but it makes sense. This has been Donald Trump's talking point for years. He wants to be friends with Russia. He thinks Putin has good control of his country. And he's attacked Ukraine because Ukraine was one of the reasons why Trump got impeached the first time, because he tried withholding funds. Bolton went on to say, what you heard from Trump and Vance today was advancing the Russian position in these negotiations. We don't have to really listen to that. I just said it. And then here is what Vladimir Zelenskyy said today. Thank you, America. Thank you for your support. Thank you for this visit. Thank you, POTUS, Congress, and the American people. Ukraine needs just and lasting peace, and we are working exactly for that. I love this because it's a little bitchy, because J.D. Vance is like, you never say thank you, even though he has a million times. He did in that Oval Office meeting. And I don't know. This is something about this. It's very, very awesome, for lack of a better word. God bless Ukraine.